that's kind of the roundabout story of how I became a full-time artist. I painted Mr. Easy one time, and then people were like, "Oh, this is Mr. Difficult," and it hurt me. It hurt me. But then I really sucked, and it was really hard. And I didn't like it. 2021, what else? I left school, so the uni I was in, I realized that I really do not like this place. Covenant, horrible place. So I put that painting out, and then it went like super viral. And that was my question as well, because I was like, "Fuck, am I like a one painting wonder?" 4 years ago now. Yeah, over 4 years ago. Oh no, I checked my watch. Hi, my name is Anthony Azekwoh, and this is the story of how I became a full-time artist.
Hey folks, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is PC Timmy. I'm a multifaceted creator, a marketing professional, and a teacher, and I'm passionate about growing people and growing businesses. See, the goal is that anybody who comes across me or any piece of my content is inspired and or motivated to get better in your business, in your career, and in your life. As you watch this video, like and comment and share to your friends and family if you like it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Enjoy this video, and I'll see you. Peace.
Hi, my name is Anthony Azekwoh, and this is the story of how I became a full-time artist. I feel like, first of all, that's even a very interesting category, because for me, in my head at least, I'm not just an artist. I mean, there's lots of other stuff I'm doing, but I guess like people know me more for being an artist, which is fair. How did it start? I think, first of all, primarily I'm a writer. So since I was like 13, I was like writing, and I would put stuff out. I was also like a big Wattpad like writer at the time, and that was like really fun, yeah. So I had my little WordPress, and I remember I always used to ask people like, "You guys, please read, share, retweet." Was fave, yeah. It wasn't like at the time on Twitter, it was like that star. So I remember that was like basically just what I was doing. And then sometime around 2016, my laptop broke, and my handwriting is really bad. So like, obviously it meant that I couldn't write anymore effectively. So at the time, like, I feel like I was very bored and like a very angsty like teenager. So I needed like something to do. I had some random like A4 paper in the house, and I found some pens. And then somehow, I don't know, I just started like just drawing like little like, these little designs. I would draw like an elephant, but I had like a little twist to it. And in my head, I'm telling you, like, it was fucking crazy. And I remember I showed my mom, and she really liked what it is that I'd done. And I feel like with writing, a lot of the time, before you're able to kind of see or experience something with the person that's reading your work, a lot of time has passed, so that's not normally something that happens. Whereas with art, two people can experience the same painting, and you kind of see that connection in real time, and that's something that up until then I hadn't quite figured out. So I think from then, somehow I just got really interested. My laptop was fixed, but now I was also really interested in this art thing, so I was like, okay, cool. I started looking at other artists, so I found people like, there's this guy, Momo Illustrator, to be a great guy. I found his work, he did something for Jason Kanga, and I was like, okay. Then I found people like Duke's Arts and Duro Arts, and I loved the work that they were doing. And one thing I was noticing was that it was digital. But in my head, I didn't even have the vocabulary to describe what it is I wanted to do. So I thought this was graphic design. So I went into graphic design. I started making logos and all that. But then I really sucked, and it was really hard, and I didn't like it. So I now figured out that what they were doing wasn't graphic design per se, it was digital art. Like after like digging, and I was like, okay, cool. So I stole my sister's mouse, and then I started like I started teaching myself how to draw on my computer with this like cracked version of Photoshop. It was that year, man. Like there was just, I was like a child, like there was no other way to do that. So, I taught myself how to draw with a mouse. And I remember this American artist saw my work one day, and he's like, "Oh, I'll pay you $60 for like a cover art." I was like, okay, like run it. At that time, that was like cool money. And I remember it was like 32K or something, if I'm remembering correctly. So I used that money to buy my first Wacom tablet. Not my Wacom, it was a Huion? It was a Huion, or so it was something. It was my first tablet anyway. And that's how I started it started that cycle of upgrading my work and then upgrading my tools and then getting paid for it. So it was, at the time, in my head at least, I never really had like a thought of, oh, this could be a main thing, because I mean, money was sporadic. There were so many people that were better than me. If you were doing a project, like I wasn't really like top of mind. So for me, at least in the beginning, I was doing this because it was fun, I enjoyed it, and I really, really liked the results. I liked that process of being able to work hard at something and share it with people and have them connect. Years passed, and I kind of just stayed on the road, practicing, sharing my work. Sometimes people did not like the work. A funny story I like to say is I remember I painted Mr. Easy one time, and then people were like, "Oh, this is Mr. Difficult." And it hurt me, it hurt me. I painted Santan Dave one time, and people were like, "Oh yeah, this is Satan Dave." And I'm like, haha, everybody is so fucking funny, you guys have so many jokes. But then all those experiences did give me like thick skin, because like right now, like you can say anything and I'm just gallant. And I think things progressively changed in 2020 COVID. And I feel like at that time, my skills had become, I would say, almost presentable. I had learned a lot of the fundamentals, and I was very, very, strict about my practicing with my writing and my art. So I had a very strict regimen. And, during this time, as well as I'm practicing, I was in a bad situation with the university I was going to, horrible place, Covenant, horrible place. And I really hated that place and everything involved. So it was cool, I was there, and I was really trying to find a way out. COVID then became like a kind of blessing for me because it meant that I didn't have to be there for a while, and it meant that I could actually, for the first time, properly focus on my craft. So 2020, I made a painting, and I'd spent like 11 hours or something on it. And I was like, yeah, this is the one that's gonna take me out the hood. Like, yeah, I'm out. I painted it and I put it out, and then nobody gave a fuck. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, I hate you guys, and like, fuck this. So then, like, a couple days after, I was just practicing something. And I remember, I was like, you know what, people don't care anymore. Or like, let me just do what I want to do. So I put that painting out, and then it went like super viral. And I remember it was like, okay, fuck. This one that I didn't even like kind of plan, now this is the one that like people really love and gravitate to this day. People have tattooed this, they have it on their walls, they have it on their chests, like their bags. I was like, okay, cool. And then yeah, like that was like my first glimpse of a reality where I was doing this full time. That was 4 years ago now. Yeah, over 4 years ago. I don't know, I checked my watch. So it was one of those things where it really did change my perspective on what it is I could do and like the potential of the field that I was in. And it did, I think in the eyes of like my own colleagues and like the community, it was like, okay, maybe this guy's onto something. But then that's kind of like having a hit song. Everybody's question is going to be, can you do this again? And that was my question as well, because I was like, fuck, am I like a one painting wonder? And then I kept trying. So I kept trying and doing things similar in that style, and it kept flopping. And I was like, fuck, I'm a one painting wonder. I'm done. I should just stick to this chemical engineering degree. And a couple months later, again, it was back to that feeling of, you know what, if nobody cares anyways, let me just do the thing that I like. So I decided to sit down one day and I'm painting this story I'd heard years before about this African samurai. I was like, let me just paint this, like, let me just do what I want. So I painted that, I put it out, and then that one went super viral again. Again, people tattooed it, people were getting prints, like, it was like a whole thing. And even till this day, it's become, synonymous to the character himself. When you search Yasuke, you see the painting, and I was like, okay, that's really fun. So I feel like those moments in 2020 did, to me at least, solidify that, oh, I could actually do this full time, I think. Definitely was very hard. I would say that was also the beginning of like the business aspect of being able to start like fielding a lot of these offers, being able to sell prints, and being able to properly understand like the other side of the thing I was doing, being able to understand the data, the economics, being able to actually like have a good rapport with the community, the collectors and such and such. Something significant at the end of that year that happened was also NFTs. That now became like a whole thing. Someone had messaged me, his name is Mango, and he messaged me, he's like, bro, like this NFT thing, like you should hop on. And I'm like, I don't know, man, crypto, I'm not trying to get scammed, all love. But then like, he kept convincing me, and I was like, you know what, like let me just try, like what's the worst that could happen? So January of like 2021, I started experimenting with like crypto and the blockchain. And I was realizing that, yeah, these people are fucking insane, but I actually fuck with these guys because I feel like as an African, one big issue I'd always had was the financial side, how to collect payments, how to get these payments. Lots of people in the world want to pay me, but they can't because I'm Nigerian. So yeah, it was one of those things where crypto to me, like I had that strong affinity because I was like, this is exactly it. This is our last frontier where we can actually finally like make a difference for ourselves. So I really jumped headfirst into the NFT thing. And again, my work was very popular around that side and it's continued since then. 2021, what else happened? I left school. So the uni I was in, I realized that, yeah, like I really do not like this place. And this is really horrible, so I have to go, love you guys. I don't actually know. So I left, and somehow, I think since then, actually, I think it was 2022 I left, but like basically I had left. And for me, it was one of those moments of kind of like walking on air, when you watch those cartoons where it's like the guy's running off the cliff and he's like running on air, and it's like, to me, that's kind of how I saw my quote unquote career, where it's like, one day I'm going to realize I'm walking on air, am I going to drop? Because a lot of those fears do come when you're in a field where the money isn't stable or constant and it's not sure. So I think those were a lot of my fears and anxieties in those earlier times. But then I look back and it's been like 4 years and yeah, like, I'm still around. So, it's not been completely bad. I feel like the journey since then has really just been incredible. I've worked with lots of cool people like Adekunle Gold, people like Sodium Cam. They saw me even before like things started popping off, and like I worked with them. So I'm always grateful to those guys. People like Bizzle or Shikoya as well, like in the music industry, were really, really great in terms of kind of, how do I say it, identifying what it is I was doing and being able to just help me out. Worked with other great artists like Black Bones, Young John. I'm doing some stuff for Melvito right now. Like, worked with artists around the world, had a project with Masego. Like, it was really just, the past couple of years have really just been a blessing in terms of being able to speak to these people that I looked up to as a child and, you know, sometimes even working with them. And yeah, I would say that's kind of the roundabout story of how I became a full-time artist. I feel like for me, it's very weird, and I do refrain from saying it because it sounds like an intentional thing, but then really I tripped and I fell into this whole thing, and I've been, you know, riding the wave ever since. I remember in 2020, in my head, my main goal was just to get out of that bad situation I was in. There's just so much going on at home, in school, in my personal life that I hated it. And, you know, so I'd always be like, yeah, I need to leave. I want one of my paintings to blow. I need to get this, I need to get out. And when it actually did finally happen, it was just overwhelming. It was like hell. You know, it's like you can imagine at the time, I can remember this vividly. I had like 3,000 followers. Then the next day it's like 10K and it's like 20K. And it's like, you're kind of seeing people from all over the world asking you questions, asking for this, demanding this. They're asking, okay, when is the next one? All the pressure, in fact, handling money that you haven't seen before, like all of those pressures to me nearly broke me in that point. And I learned my first like valuable lesson where it's like, it's not enough to like pray and like manifest these things. You have to be ready physically, mentally, like psychologically to withstand this thing that you want, because if not, it's going to be hell. Another thing I'm learning even right now is to keep that same hunger and energy. You know, it's very easy to become complacent, especially when you've been able to solve a lot of like your survival needs. Right now, what I'm relearning is being able to keep pushing, keep elevating, and keep getting stronger. You know, in my craft, it's like a contact sport. So it was 2021. And that whole year, I remember I had been going to like galleries and like yanning people like, yo, like, look at what I'm up to. Like, even on the NFT side, I'm making about like, let's do something, bank on me. And all of the galleries and the creators, they were like, bro, stop. Like, this is, you know, we are not doing this. I remember there's a particular curator, I hope I see her one day. I go to the gallery, I show her my work, I'm scrolling my Instagram and she's like, you know, unless you're like really, you know, a traditional artist, you really can't, this is not gonna work. So stuff like that was the general reception at the time, especially towards me. It's like, people could appreciate that, yeah, he's doing pretty pictures online. Yes, people do like these pretty pictures, but then is he really an artist? That was like how they were really looking at me, and it hurt my feelings, you know? So, but around that time, again, I had just left school in dramatic fashion. And I was like in the air and I'm wondering, okay, I can't really wait for these guys to help me figure this thing out. I have to sort this thing out. So what I did in Lagos was, my plan was, okay, look, people have been seeing my work for a while, but they don't really know me. They don't know my face like that. Cool, we're gonna start doing pop-up shows. So again, I was using my own money. We'd rent out a venue, we'd do like a little pop-up show. We'll have the arts there, people would come, we'll laugh, we'll leave. That was September. October, did something else. I did something with Rennie Kidam, I remember. Cool, everybody came, we leave. November, again, another pop-up show. And again, like just to get people familiar, to have that physical like interaction. Then I rounded it up by doing my own like, you know, what's it called? Independent like exhibition in December at Free Me Space. And it was just challenging because in my head, I'm thinking, is anybody going to come? Like, does this make sense? It's very weird. Like, in fact, the Free Me Space was like a very blank space. Like, it was just bare. So we had to build the walls ourselves, like design how everything was going to look. So it was really risky, and it was like, now I see just how risky it is, because some stuff you can do that and it goes really badly. But I'm grateful that people showed up, people cared, we sold out the pieces. And it was just a very fun experience. So I would say that that one in particular was very challenging, just because that was the first time I was doing something at that scale. And I just didn't know how the industry would appreciate it. I didn't know how the people would appreciate it. I didn't know how my own colleagues would appreciate it, because it was just really weird. And then, yeah, I think from then, after I conquered that, like everything else was really like simple. I would say that the two paintings from 2020, like Grandman and Yasuke, were like those things like that has changed my life, like in terms of just putting my name out there. And that's the first time I saw what it was that was possible, because it's like, because how old am I at that time? I'm like 2021, like being able to see people all over the world, like people you don't know, like tattooing your work, they're saying that, oh, like they're connecting with it, like that was something that reoriented my brain completely. So those paintings do have a special place. My first sculpture, Tinuke, at the time I'd been painting for a while and I felt tired. You know, it felt like every time I was coming with paintings, it's like, oh, here this guy comes again. So I think for me, when I did the first sculpture, it was like, now the sculptures are cool and people fuck with them, but then at the time it was almost like a poor business decision. You know, it's almost like you've been selling Coke successfully for a while, now you want to enter like champagne, you know. Like, it was weird. So I remember me and my team, we talked about it for a while. And when I finally put it out after like months of like fiddling with the whole thing, the reception was also really unique. There was one half of people being like, oh yeah, this guy's washed up, man, he's doing toys now, like, ah. But there were other people that like did see the vision and they did like resonate with it. So I think those three pieces to me, like the first times that I was able to kind of challenge my mode of thinking and being able to understand that there was more. Then even like writing, like, I mean, as an artist, I'm still a writer as well. The essays I wrote about covenants were also unique in the sense where, in fact, that was the first time I was seeing that words, whether it's like art, whether it's words, whether it's pictures, whether it's like paints, like it has a very, very strong effect with people. And that was the first time that I remember I was on campus and like lecturers, they'll come, they'll look around, they'll be like, are you Anthony Azekwoh? And they'll be like, come. They were like, bro, I really fuck with that shit, man. Like, and it was really like, I was like, oh, fair enough. Like, so you guys, I'm not mad, you know, you guys are seeing the problem as well. So I think like definitely there have been those moments where, and interesting, it's not the moments where I made money or whatever, it was the moments where I was able to connect with people that I didn't think that I would. So yeah. I would say any challenge because of my age. I would say that in the beginning, even from writing, because again, I was like 13 when I had started, and like I was 16 when people started reading my work. I realized then that, yeah, like, because you're in a field with people who are 2-3 times your age, like, they're not taking you seriously. My solution at the time was to wear native everywhere because they couldn't tell. They're like, is this guy 16? Is he 20 something? Like, I was bamboozling them. After a while, though, I just stopped like giving a fuck. I realized that the people who did recognize the work I was doing were the people that mattered. There were definitely like some people. There's this one guy I'll never forget, and I don't know where he is, and I want to meet him one day just to ask him why he's this way. So I asked him how do you do something? And he gave me the longest possible, most convoluted, most depressing answer ever. And years later, I found myself like, bro, what was your goal here? You know, so that's one of the moments. But then I would say that for me in particular, I want like all my OGs have been really nice. Like people like Dukes, Duro. After my painting went viral, Duro, who I've been trying to reach like for a while before then, here's when I say it, but he had been airing my messages. But he hadn't seen them, so I'll give him that. So Duro finally like, he saw it and he calls me. He says, what's your number? He calls me. And for like an hour, Duro just goes through everything. He's like, bro, this is how they're gonna come for you. These are the industry is, these are the people to avoid, these are the people to work with. He broke everything down in a way that I needed at that particular point in time. And it was just so helpful because a lot of the things he said to me that day, I still do like from now. It was like, don't give anybody your personal contacts. It's like, don't send, they're going to want you, don't panic. Like he was very, very like, he really broke everything down. He told it almost like a prophecy. He was telling me, he even told me the mistakes I was going to make and I made them still. So it was one of those things where I was like, bro, like Duro, people like Duro, Dukes, like Neo Kewo, like Shutterbug, like Renike, you know, Bube Honor, Quadri. Like, these are people that I saw and like everybody really like took a moment because there were lots of things that I didn't have, lots of knowledge that I didn't understand, and they were able to help me put things together. So I'll say that my OGs, like, you know, they've been cool. Stuff that I've noticed and I've been seeing is that, unfortunately, there was a lot of money that was pumped into the art ecosystem worldwide in the past 3-4 years. And you can like compare it to like the Afrobeats boom, where it's like money just flooding the streets from the labels, from their own investors, and it's flooding into like everything. But then for me, I'm happy that when I was learning, there wasn't that pressure of making bar. Like money wasn't top of mind. You know, if someone had paid me 10K for something, I'd be like, oh man, God, thanks. Like I needed this, you know. So I feel like my one advice is just really, and it's something that I'm relearning as well, like being able to stay true to the work, being able to stay true to what it is that you're doing this for, because the money, I'll tell you for free, like it comes and it goes. And then sometimes it goes and it goes for a while. And then like you're wondering, you're confused. But then if you really, really do love and care for what you're doing, you're able to withstand those moments, because love is the only thing that can make you do something like this. Just this year alone, every week we handle Wahala. And I feel like being able to love it has what's kept me. So I would say being able to love what you do and also being able to work very hard at it. From the beginning, I treated this like a contact sport. It was like I was learning basketball, you know. every day I was at this, every week I was at this. I had my own challenges that I would set for myself just to make sure that I was getting better. Because in my head, like you said, I was doing the math. Okay, at this time I'm 20, those two them are like, do you get, they've had years of experience on me. How do I catch up and get to that point? So my goal was, I have to catch up with the hours. I have to catch up with the level of expertise that they have. I'm watching videos, I'm asking questions, and I would always ask questions. Like I'd always find them. I'd be like, I beg, like, what's going on? Hi, it's my name. I'm doing this thing. How do I solve this particular problem? And more time when you're able to have specific questions, people are very receptive. So I feel like, yeah, that's my advice. Like, you know, be very curious, like love what it is you're doing. The money is cool, but then don't be too attached. And then work very hard at like just improving your basic skills. You know, unfortunately, like I said, the priority has been money in the ecosystem for a while. And I feel like that's distorted a lot of people's perception of what it is and how you can get good. So I feel like to me, that's been the focus, just getting really good. Burnout. I feel like in actuality, I've definitely been burnt out for like a couple years, and I probably am due a break. But I feel like, again, it's one of those things where I needed to come out because it's just stuff to sort out. With burnout, the way I looked at it in the beginning was that, like, you know, if you're a doctor, like, you're going to have to show up. Like, you know, sometimes you don't like your patients, you don't like your fucking hospital, but you have to come out, you have to do your work. So for me, that's how I have, like, looked at a large portion of my work in terms of this is, like, my duty. There's no, like, I'm not going anywhere, like, 9 to 5, like, this is it. So being able to have a more structured and disciplined approach did help me scale through a lot of things. However, like rest is really important. I feel I've been resting a lot more. In the beginning, I was really insane. Like I was doing really like insane things. Like I remember during COVID, one of my regiments was every day 3,000 words. If I miss a day, the 3,000 words carrying to the next time. I would do like 5 studies, like for drawing, like I was learning anatomy, color. So it was very, very structured, and those things did help, but then it obviously added a lot of pressure physically on me, and like it did reflect on my health. I would say that with pressure, I'm handling that with just not caring, in the sense where it's like a lot of the pressure sometimes is internal because everybody really understands last. But for me, I feel like right now with pressure, I'm really focusing on what I can control. You know, yeah, like definitely I hear it, I see it sometimes on Twitter, and you know, it can get to you sometimes, but I've just learned to just like focus and do my work. Like I don't interact too much with the comments unless like I'm really annoyed, unless I'm really trying to be annoying. But then most times I'm really just focused on what is I can control, my work and how I feel about it. Like the pressure to me has always been there, so I've been able to manage it a bit more. And I feel like I've proven myself many times, man. So I'm cool. So yeah.